I'll come back. 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 I'll come back.
Priest? Oh, I should make the announcement. Shit. DMs are gonna get leaked. Everyone get in here. There we go. Send. Notify 577 people. All right.
Hey, you guys.
Okay. Get that down over there. I need to get my second monitor back. But I think that should be good. We're streaming. Are you guys seeing it on Twitch? If not, I'm just going to check my phone quick, make sure that we're good to go.
Let's assume I can even use Twitch, because I have not been able to sign into it on my computer forever.
Huh. I wonder if your
I
account pulled the milk. Sweet. Yes, it does say to me that we're live.
It probably did.
Cool. Yep, no, Alex says hi. So then in that case, 5, 4, 3, 2, cut. Hello and welcome to the Barcast. So the bar gets lower every single week. Your bartenders for this evening are Enigmatic Otaku.
Platypus is platypi. What is the plural of platypus?
Platypussies. That said, Ravage is here.
You stole my joke.
Got him. Get wrecked. And I'm the one that steals everyone's jokes. My name's Flutter Priest. We're running out of half ship today, but that's A-okay because we've got a special guest who is hilarious to help shore up the sails, so to speak. Boat jokes. They are Vis-A-Viscera. Viz, it's nice to have you here today.
Yes, it is. I happen to be the emperor of this fully armed and operational battle station, the absolute Count of Clop, the insurmountable inscriber of all that's good and holy. And wait a minute, I already said this before. Yeah, you're right. I'm Vis-A-Viscera, and it's very nice to meet you all.
It's great to have you here. For those who are tuning in for the very first time, hello and welcome. I'll make this as quick as possible. You can check us out on places like YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and etc. to check out on past episodes like John Delancey, Andrea Libman, Dusty Cat, and many, many more. We're a community-oriented podcast where you politely ask for the guests, we politely ask them on, and then make them miserable for 2 hours.
Assuming that could even happen in this case.
Yes, this is a good one. This is a great guest. We're streaming live on Twitch right now, but we're going to be taking some questions off of Film Fiction and watching the chat for questions. Enigma, what sort of things don't we ask our guest?
We do not ask religious, political, or self-incriminating things. So don't tell us
self-identifying things.
If you're a human, you keep that to yourself.
Basically, if you don't think it won't be worth repeating on Judge Judy, we usually try to avoid it.
Shit gets said on Judge Judy, though.
It does, doesn't it?
Is she still judging?
Oh,
damn right, she's still judging. She's such a judger. She judges when she's off work.
I'm pretty sure I would include something about a judging parlor, but, gotta make sure I keep the material fresh.
Independent judging. Gosh, well, without further ado, I think it's time for us to jump into some questions. We'll start with some real basic interview questions to ease ourselves into the deep end here, Viz. Let's start with, who are you and what do you do in the fandom?
As I said before, I'm a regular contributor to Film Fiction. I'm also one of the more common regulars on the Quills and Sofa speed writing contest. And for the most part, what I try to do is raise the bar. See, I've always seen that this entire franchise was shockingly, amazingly deep and well-structured community. One that managed to keep through thick and thin, and especially so in its writing. A lot of the stuff that had come to my attention, everything from Winter Mist, anything you can think of from such wonderful sources as Red Parade, even some of my own friends that I've kept towards throughout many years, like Artie. I've always thought that the examples that I kept seeing, especially in the ones that they've seen on YouTube, has been something I needed to match. And so I took myself so much time just to be able to write, just to be able to put down as much stuff as I could. But over the years, I decided to take a bigger, stronger tack.
No, I think that's
If I was going to be anyone at all, was going to be somebody that valued quality over anything else, and that's what I tried to do, no matter what rating of story that I bring out. And it's something I've been doing since early 2020. One that I didn't think it was going to be 2 years, but which has produced an absolute volume of content ever since. And even though I think of myself as someone rather low key, I always pride myself on being one of the hardest workers, the hardest writers, the most thorough transcribers that this site, in fact, this community has ever known.
I think that go for it, Magma.
I think I can get harder than you.
Well, that's probably true, but I don't envy how many Medusa stairs you'll need to get through in order to do that.
But no, it's exceptionally well said. Like the Quills and Sofa group in the fan fiction kind of space is definitely an area where if you want to improve your craft or really get outside of your bubble, there's exceptionally talented writers there. You mentioned a few of them that all are wonderful to get real thorough feedback from, and to give advice on kind of what you need to do in order to grow. Exceptionally well said, Viz.
Indeed. In fact, there are several fictions that I've made that I love to have to revive. Just listening towards their thorough criticism.
Of course,
I don't doubt that there's always a higher ceiling for me to aspire to, and the fact that I can still find that and still march towards it with unblinking, unwavering eyes is one of the things that keeps me going the most.
Well, we'll keep on marching on and keep on striving for higher word counts, more thorough stories, and deeper subplots. In that kind of vein, how did you personally get into the fandom?
Again, this has only been like 2 or 3 years ago, but it almost seems so fuzzy. There was never any one thing, you see. If I want to start going for a crystallizing moment, something that above all else made sure that I would be here and not take my eyes off the ball ever since, was DWK. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to front. It didn't take until I saw somebody place through every episode you could think of My Little Pony through an absolutely illuminating lens on YouTube, no less. To make it absolutely a joy to watch. That's where I started thinking, my goodness, maybe I can do more for this place, or for everyone around me, to just sit by and watch.
I love DW.
Ages for me to actually get up the writing skill, the courage needed, that I would actually be able to do something even to a millionth of the talent that he showed daily. But I always considered that moment, that name, as the lodestar of everything that I've ever accomplished towards that point.
Mm.
I love DWK. I love the little hints he was planting. It's like, oh yeah, her name just escaped me. The recolor Spitfire. Forget her name.
Lightning Dust.
Fleetfoot. Where he was implying that Fleetfoot is a serial killer.
Oh, I think I remember that one.
No,
Grant
like
back.
yeah, like in 5 episodes, and there was that one episode where it was just Celestia rapping.
Pretty much everything involving Mon is an absolute delight. And the Equestria Girls chapter, absolutely to die for.
I haven't taken the time yet to jump into DWK stuff, but I can't think of a much more like convincing argument of like it's time. It's time to finally like get out from under my rock and enjoy his content.
I could send you some of his choice episodes.
I would love that.
Don't often use the word prolific in order to describe many authors I've seen. Don't think that is somehow an exception towards this franchise. It's just that there are so few people that have managed to make a personality around this and still manage to deliver the crucial info necessary. But he is one of the few that I could say is one who managed to make that transfer from one media watching to another one in reviewing and managed to make it work. I'd argue you're doing pretty much the same thing yourself. It's actually a rather inspiring thing, in fact.
Aw. Say more nice things. Speaking of nice things, it's time for you to say some nice things, because this is a question that we ask everyone that comes on. So you've been doing this, in your words, since 2020, and it's easy to be like, oh, everything's boring, we're stuck inside our homes in the collective hellscape that was outside in what was 2020. But why are you still here? Like, what keeps you here in the pony fandom? Is it the art, the people, the stories themselves? What keeps you here?
Here's the thing. In order to actually answer that question, I have to dive into something that I normally didn't make it too much of a light of, say for one blog post. Why I came back. See, there's this spell in around late December 2021 of last year where I had fallen ill myself. I had finally started to see the quality of my own work start to taper off, even though I was still delivering the bi-weekly content that I didn't think I was capable of until I managed to come on this wonderful form. But it was then that I ended up in that span of time I was gone, even after I recovered from that, and even after the wrist injury, which put me out for far longer. It just seemed to extend on and on, like for some reason, the gun shyness that had normally kept me from working here until literally the tail end of the series that spawned all of this had ended. Where I was just wondering, did I really want to come back and still be able to do all that it was that I did? Or did I call the lid there and try to make the most of what I had already shown? But what kept me here, what actually kept me going, that is the question that I've always been wondering to ask myself, but really it only came down to one simple thing. There is always another act in the wings. There's always more that you can find to tap into yourself when the chips are down and you're at your lowest. There's always something that you might have to finish that you always wanted to see through. And when I finally got the grasp of just how far my imagination could go, how much unfinished business I had, both in my personal life and in this wonderful franchise, that's when I finally discovered exactly what it was that keeps me writing. And it's pretty much my need to excel. I had already produced a fantastic first wave, but above all else, I wanted to make sure I had something that lasted. That's what keeps me going, by the way. This probably unattainable, but always worth striving for grail. This point where I keep looking up and thinking, this is the day where I don't just make the sin box. It is where I make an indelible mark on everyone around me, something that inspires them to start writing up stuff in conjunction with my universe, with my ponisonas, with my stories, and the countless amounts of little world building detail that you can put in and just watch as even others to water the seeds, help them grow.
Yeah, we gotta get that. We gotta get that Viz extended universe.
The ponies are pretty cute.
Lily Garden.
The ponies are pretty cute. Would have been an acceptable answer, also.
I thought I did in the longest short of mentioning Cheerilee's garden.
Oh, hey, this.
Go ahead, Enigma. I only had.
Yes, I know it's a joke, but it's only a half joke, really. The fact that such a story that started off with such a small, which was a small yet amenable cast, but still managed to evolve even further beyond that. That was pretty much the top. That was pretty much the fic that defined how that was just going to come back, but that I was going to make the most out of every moment since.
Makes
really
sense
feels
to me.
like there's always sense for it, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry for taking so much time, of course.
No, you're fine. I mean, this is your time. So just, I mean, if you're happy with your answers, this is good.
I am, but I also know I tend to get a bit long-winded. Heaven knows the prose I get is so purple everyone keeps mistaking it for Twilight's coat.
Let's see. Let's hit up our next question. So this is a little more philosophical, and it's given the state of the fandom. Like, the Generation 4 is over. Generation 5 hasn't been the lightning in a bottle that Gen 4 has had. What do we as bronies, as the horse fandom, do to remain relevant and strong together?
Ironically enough, the same thing that made me one in order to begin with. Be able to make stories, be able to make media that is not only just colorful, it's not only just deep, that makes others want to start their own parts in it. See, the fact that I've always seen so many stories just completed, and yet that leaves so much room for interpretation, that's kind of the vital element of this franchise. The fact that for all the ended stories, there's always so much more to offer. And even though the amount of authors that could actually do such a thing may have diminished, there are no less profound. And if you're going to be a person who is in this and wants to see it go further, I encourage you, even if it takes 1,000 words, like I've done it myself, see if you can try and deliver it just a little. Maybe it's not the most stunning story ever. Maybe it isn't the one that gets you the most likes, but try to be what you want to see. I know that there's always some odious corners in it that can easily turn people off, but the fact that it's so wide is such an absolute delight just to be able to pour through. That has always been what makes me, as a person, want to keep going week after week, just to make sure that there's always something new waiting. And if that sort of doubt or trepidation does strike you as something that you feel needs to be filled, well, there's only so many times that we can try and revise before we have to start putting in the work ourselves. I know this seems like I'm trying to get into some bootstrappy thing, but creation is genuinely an invigorating and amazing experience for me. And I know it may not necessarily be the best for everyone else, but think about the everyone else's that you might be showing your work in front of as well. Because even if you're not necessarily the best at what you do, there are an infinitesimal amount of people, both on this site and outside of it, who will buoy you to the top like a rising boat if you just make the effort.
I know how we can stay relevant.
Oh?
Well,
If anybody says more Trixie shows, I'm going to tell you right now, I've already thought of 3.
No. See, my plan. See, we get all the bronies together, right? And we make ourselves brony NFTs. Therefore, we will be immortalized on the blockchain.
Get out.
My literal next word was going to be an aside to Raid Shadow Legends, and I think that might have been the second most embarrassing thing I've ever heard.
All
but
right.
think of it. We can have the main 6, but as Bored Apes.
No.
You
The
barely
fact
gotta
that
get away with them as butterflies!
Oh my gosh. All right, let's move to our last question before we actually get out to the thread. Nice, short, simple, and succinct. Who is best pony, Viz?
Were you
I just
computing
never
or are you
thought
having
that
issue?
No, I just never thought this moment would ever come. Me actually asking just exactly who I thought the best pony would ever really be. Well, I think it's pretty obvious which one is going to have to be. Get ready, folks. Cora.
I misheard you for a second. I thought you said my favorite pony is Gore, and I was like, who the hell is Gore?
No, I heard Zecora.
Oh, Zecora. I like Zecora.
Oh, wait, sorry about that. I was still pretty much wondering if the ceiling was going to fall in. Honestly, what do I have to say in order to make sure I get a rise out of this? Turnip truck?
I mean,
No. There's some things that even I shouldn't be joking about. Anyways, yes. No. You wanted me to have a serious answer for this? The Shadow.
Really?
You are pretty much not going to get, in the span of such a short time, a pony that ends up embodying every issue that the series has ever had, and yet still manages to swing her way back around to the side of the Angels with such a wonderful turnaround time as her.
She's a good horse for sure.
Yeah, she is great. She deserves all the chin switches.
Literal shattered horn and the magic emanating off her every word can get you hooked.
Do you ever think that she uses? Do you ever think that she uses her broken horn bits to like just shank people like a broken glass?
He pops all the bagged milk to save us.
Repeat the question.
Do you ever think that she uses her jagged horn to stab people like you would with a broken beer bottle?
Pretty sure her penetrating gaze does that enough for her.
He said penetrating. All right.
Repeatedly, in both my stories and my regular life.
Up next, we're going to start taking our first questions from the thread. RK Striker JK5 is up first. What is your favorite non-MLP franchise?
Oh my goodness, I almost don't want to say. You probably laugh. Oh, what the hell am I going for? Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Roller Coaster Tycoon? Mr. Bones' wild ride never ends!
I want to get on!
I when it actually crashes into the ground, and somehow my park gets 3 stars dropped for it!
Was that the one where it begins with like some Rick-looking motherfucker gives you the keys to your own theme park?
That sounds more like Monopoly. The one I remember had this giant raised pillar as basically a final stage, as if giant monetary costs somehow stopped me, and I ended up finding it one of the more entertaining parts of it. I always thought that the things that attracted me most towards it was simply the amount of creativity you could do within it. Hint, hint. And the fact that you could actually start running the rides in the third one, well, it started making it a little bit of a side fancy for me. I always loved seeing the videos of just how many managed to make such an amazing ride just out of simple roller coasters, especially this one, Heaven and Hell, that's in that's still on YouTube. I wish I could remember the actual name for it, but it should stand out like a sore thumb. Just follow the sign of marshmallows, the thumbnail, of course. But yeah, Roller Coaster Tycoon, pretty much a short and simple game, but brings so much from so little, especially with the downloadable content. That was the time I finally started learning that there could be a way to actually add more towards a certain franchise. And then I learned about Mugen and Mario Maker.
Oh yeah.
And then this.
Oh my gosh, Mario Maker was a small, like, it took over my life for a small period of time. Me and Skirts were exchanging Mario levels, and it was crazy. It was fun.
Definitely.
Up next, have you done any fan-related content for a non-MLP franchise?
The thing, most work I end up doing that involves me making out a picture is usually paid work, but I don't think I've ever recalled doing any for a franchise that isn't already, food related. Because usually those are the ones that pay most.
Gotcha.
Regardless, I would like to start trying to go for it in the meantime, if for no other reason than that Tool 3D is slowly starting to become a fading memory, and I'm never usually a big fan of when that happens, because I only have to learn stuff. I also have to start understanding just how a mouse pad that can charge my phone, do my taxes, and mow the crabgrass off my front lawn somehow keeps getting racked every time I move my mouse over it 2 spaces. By the way, nobody asked me about my Mugen record. For some reason, they're both related and very tragic.
Yikes. I personally never quite got into Mugen, but I know that's something that people love. Isn't it somewhat related to Skullgirls? Or am I just
no?
Isn't Mugen the card game?
I'm pretty sure that's Magic, actually.
All right.
Magic the Gathering.
Yes. Third question seems like it's going to be a fun one. It looks like that there is a wrestler also with the name Vis-A-Viscera. And so they ask, what is it like working with The Undertaker?
Yes, I'm actually aware of him. Yes. Okay, so I'll just say the leather and robes actually did work a wonderful bit, especially considering how roomy they are. Me having my throat chair jabbed into the steel steps could have been a bit better. But hey, at least it helps in most actual regards. Like, for example, when I decided to take a look at the Crown LP franchise, realized that there is also a wrestler here that's somehow related to Cheerly, and then my brain, definitely putting 2 and 2 together in proper and productive ways to actually work towards the future of society, decided that my pony Sona should be absolutely none of those things, just a thief that literally looks like a crimson pony and definitely doesn't have self-esteem issues at all, yet somehow manages to basically wail on everything that actually has a horn. Well, I know, I didn't give too much thought towards actual creation of that pony. Why do you ask?
All right. Steel Quill is up next. Number 1, what is a favorite ship of yours you enjoy riding and why?
Okay, this is one of the ones I actually put down an answer for, and it's going to be weird because the second part of the ship that I like riding the most is basically a blank space, but the first one is Princess Cadence. I cannot stress enough how much potential I cannot stress enough how much potential there's been in an alicorn that has yet to actually show it her.
Yes,
The
thank
weird
you.
thing about
Thank
everything
you.
about the weird thing about everything about this is that it literally starts with her being put out of the way because if she gets out, she will basically two solo an entire changeling horde, and everything keeps building up on that. The whole
Yeah,
part
no.
of being able to write a ship with her and anyone else is that it has a perfect arrangement with everything else. He thought of open marriages, the whole entire concept of being a literal princess of love, the fact that she is very much, and the fact that she is very much one of the most prolific alicorns in the story, and that's somehow weird considering one of them is literally Celestia's sister. But the thing that really compels me the most to write about her is. Hold on, I got this. How many alleys you could basically go with her?
Yes,
The
100%.
very concept of love being the very concept of love being crystallized in an actual actually being crystallized in a single source that has endless potential, both in how she manages relationships, her superpower, and most importantly, how much you can get away with shipping her with.
She's also a pretty good babysitter.
She's the best babysitter.
Works wonders. I believe Buster Nuts exploited that to the fullest. Assuming he's still around. My goodness, it's hard to believe that it's hard to believe he literally retired just like a month after I joined the site. How old am I?
Too old. We're all too old for this, to be fair. Number 2 is there a character or characters you want to write but haven't yet for various reasons?
Good man. There are literally at least 200 separate ponies just in Series 4. Not to mention the manga. Not to mention the series after. Not to mention the ones before. Not to mention the Equestria Girls one. How long do you think it's going to take me to answer that question? Why do you think it's not? And most importantly, why would you think it's not Phyllis Cloverleaf? I mean, come on, she's basically spoiled rich if she was a tech bro. Come on.
Yes.
Let's explain a bit deeper. Pony who's in the middle of a central point of an episode, yet is somehow utterly reviled, seems to just activate this utterly primal part of my brain that thinks, you know what I think will be best? If I go 13 characters deep about how misunderstood she is and how much of a great lay she has to be to have everyone run her out on a rail.
Oh, she has to be.
That DWK, and which is also something that DWK did in the Applejack flashback story, but that's a story for another time. Specifically my time, next Wednesday. And I've always thought that being somebody who's in charge of futuristic machines and has an ego larger than Canalogic HQ, not to impound on the scatological fantasies of bat ponies the world over, I'm kind of a stickler for that shit.
I'm lost on scatological fantasies of bat ponies.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Is it because they shit while they're on the ceiling, or?
No, it was supposed to be a pun. I'm very sorry about that.
Oh no, it's fine.
It was supposed to be I was supposed to see oh no, sorry. I actually flubbed my line. This happens often a lot. Do not worry about it. I usually find a way to recover from that in 2 to 3 weeks. But the joke was supposed to be not to impound on the scatological fantasies of bat ponies, but I'm a sucker for that shit.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I saved it.
All right, and then that covers Steel Quell's questions. Alex _ is up next. Enigma, would you like to answer ask Alex's questions?
No.
Okay, that's fine. I can do it.
Hold on, I can't do it. It's just here we go, Alex. Question number 1. Is there anywhere in the world you really want to visit?
Six Flags Magic Mountain. For some reason, the huge expansiveness of the park in Roller Coaster Tycoon always had me wondering if it actually did boast as many rides as it used to. And quite frankly, being able to visit something like that in another state would definitely imply a lot about the status that I hope to accomplish later on in life. Namely, that, I actually managed to get more than 4 figures above my account.
Number 2. Of all the animals whose flesh you have never eaten, which would you like to try?
Hello.
Did you say koala?
No, I definitely said the big burly animal that somehow, for some reason, Fluttershy mentions about trees, and for some reason, actually managed to be less of an ass than most people keep saying they are. No, definitely buffalo. Not not just because I've tried quite a few slices of meat, but because I've heard nothing about it, and thus it seems to be an absolute delight in some parts of the country. So, yeah. Oh, you know what? Yeah, pretty
Buffalo
much.
is so good.
I hear their wings are to die for.
Oh, God.
Number 3. Have you ever seen a ghost? Did I cut off?
No, I heard you.
No, don't worry. No, I did. I'm just looking around, wondering if you had seen something I didn't. Unfortunately, if that's the case, the answer is no.
Number 4. Do you have any advice for fighting procrastination when it comes to writing?
I tell you, the one thing that always worked like a charm for me was my walk into one of the national parks. Like, even though it was sparsely populated, just me trying to 4 different ways up through the waterfalls really helped me get a better view of how to write different environments, what the thought process is, just trying to make my way through without getting hurt. It's always been a delight just being able to backpack, and even though the one I had was like a 20-minute drive away, I always felt that the experience was something really nice. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am actually suggesting touching grass as a way to fight procrastination. This might be one of the most time-wasting endeavors I've ever thought of in my life, and
Yeah, I've got this, I've got this clop scene where they have sex in a national park. Because I want it to be just right, I'm gonna go to that national park myself and, get all the details right before the fucking.
Masturbating in
no,
national
that
park?
actually works.
Just do it. It's fine.
Yeah, not on that grass.
Oh, come on now. Oh, come on now. Just do it. You know that's going to have to be for a shoe store. Come on. Do I have to explain to you how clock works?
It's true. It's true.
Oh, right, I forgot I'm still to. Number 5. Are there any solid food stuff you wish it was possible to buy in liquid form in bottles?
Keep in mind, I would never actually try this if this was the case, but bacon. Literal liquefied bacon. I always wondered just how you would ever be able to make that work, and more importantly, how fast would this fly off the shelves if it was drinkable?
I mean, I wouldn't, because I feel like that would clog your arteries a lot quicker.
If you're gonna go for that trip, you might as well just be direct with it.
But I could see people cooking with liquefied bacon though.
Yes, for how long they'll do it will depend on how well they keep the pilot lights under control.
Truth.
All right, so who's asking the next questions?
I will jump on next again. Bandy is up next. This is going to be a goodie, they say. Number 1, what have you been reading lately?
Here's the thing. always find myself rushing through a lot of my own work. Ironically enough, most of the time when I'm not busy trying to get through whatever novel I managed to bury myself in this time, mine being Ring Lords for the Ring Lords series for some reason. I always find myself just going over and revising my own work, mainly because not only do I always think there's more that I can contribute to it, it's because I know I'm rather notorious in missing errors, and even though I've managed to come back and make some very heavy strides in perfecting that process, there's always times when it always slips and catches me up. It's still something that I happen to enjoy as much as any good book that I've ever read. So yeah, that's pretty much the thing I go for.
That's fair. Next question is, have you ever had a genuine gut-busting laugh out loud moment while reading fanfic? And if so, what fic was it?
You know what? I'm going to do it in 2 lines.
Oh, shit.
Alright then. A giant roar went out through the crowd. The second that mayor managed to get the Manicore under control, then the crowd started cheering. Literally, I cannot believe somebody managed to work a bait and switch like that into a simple story. And it's literally one about where Trixie literally succumbs to a massive conspiracy theory. It's managed to get me laughing almost immediately. I thought my soul left my body at that point.
That's awesome. All right. Pardon me, I need to rub my eyes. Number 3, have you checked under your bed? Or in your closet? Or behind your door?
Oh, goodness.
Check
I
again.
would, but I'm a little tied up at the moment.
That's fair.
Those things are going to be right up my alley. Do not worry.
All right. Glimmy Glim Master is up next. Rav, would you like to take over these questions?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
All right. Question number 1. Viscera?
If you're missing a visa in that point, but don't worry, so is the actual pony. Of course, that's never actually stopped her from getting into places where she needs to be. Whole thief pony and all.
All right. Question 2. How do you make worst pony become best pony?
If you're talking about in the TV series, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You're talking about in fan fiction, simple, consistent performance. The fact that you could even get a spoiled rich fanfiction right up into the highlights of this list should be a testament towards the fact that there is no pony, none with such an odious record that you cannot make your own, that you cannot make others own, if you have the chops to make sure their story is fully fleshed out.
I have 2 words for you. Man bun.
Speaking of, I managed to make a clock fake with Zephyr Breeze managed to hit the wrist, so yes, that still continues my theory.
No, I'm thoroughly convinced anything with Zephyr Breeze in it is just pure and utter trash. Unless he's being beaten to death, then it's fine. It's fucking phenomenal at that point.
Gonna have to disagree with you on that one. Another of many, many, many records that I'm going to have to one day credit Leech for somehow managing to make better in my mind.
But he's an artiste, man. He doesn't take advice from nobody.
I can tell you right now, lie detector determined that was a lie.
Peach is a Great Lake. What are we talking about?
We're talking about our third question. If you had to create a new MLP movie, what would it be the concept? Hold on. Yeah, I'm reading it right. He phrased it wrong. What would be the concept for the movie?
Daring to adventure. Let's say we actually managed to make one of those massive books that Radio Dash totes around a full-length feature. The very fact that it would almost be Lego Batman-like in ingenuity, And if it's not, would be absolutely menacing in the terms of the hell that Hasbro would rain down upon it. Makes me want to see being tried just for the giggles.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. That would be kind of interesting to see. A pony Indiana Jones. All right. Question 4. What superpower would you like to have?
Even if almost half of all the T-rated stories relating to Twilight didn't convince me on how time travel could easily be a very, very tricky thing to get right. Saying time travel always felt like the free bingo space. If we're talking about a superpower I would like to have, would basically have to be... It basically have to be, my goodness, that's actually harder than I thought.
It usually is.
No, it's not. But no, it's not. It's actually speed. You're always going to have so much of the world that you want to see. Being able to actually accomplish it, even though that has its own problems as well, is something that I always want to try out for myself. This is only a personal preference, though. You all pick time travel at this one, and you'll be proud of it because that's pretty much your best option.
I mean, that's fair. Number 5. During your life, did you sit down on your chair and ask yourself, why do I like this colorful equines?
Okay, number 1. I do a lot of things when I'm asking questions of myself. Sitting anywhere is none of them. Number two, the questions I usually ask myself at the start of this series was, holy shit, how can a pony have that much character? How can a pony have that much character? How in the world can a series that's 30 minutes long somehow manage to have all the depths of a Gargoyles episode? That is a compliment, by the way. And when I got into the story, I always started wondering, how in the world was the first fic that I ever made, one literally based off a Headless Rainbow fic? But in terms of figuring out whether or not I actually like these colorful equines, the story is one that pretty much answers itself. They make themselves likable. They do all they can to support each other. They manage to make a phenomenal show of handling issues, and they're pretty much the epitome of solving problems. Unfortunately for me, that's sort of a great way towards getting me hooked. It's never been a question I've asked myself, mainly because I've never had to.
I mean, that's fair. Question 6. No memes today, but I got a final question. Are we all here today just to suffer?
Not me.
No, I can definitively say we are not all here today, and the suffering is a matter of perspective.
True.
And that ends Glimmaster's questions.
All right. We have someone new coming up to the drive-through lane. Muggany is up next. Yes, number 1.
I swear the name sounds familiar.
Muggany's a good bean. Muggany's a great bean. Number 1. Yes, hello. Where's your value menu? I don't feel like spending a lot of money today.
Oh shit. Listen, I got it under the desk. It's somewhere in between the canned corn and 3 copies of Old Spice. I swear we used to have more of these, but then a tornado ripped through this place specifically, and I am not sure how, but everything that was made of paper is somehow up on the ceiling and somehow on fire, despite it being raining. You think it's something that has to do with Greek fire, but we're going to have to actually get Star Scout over here to confirm.
Sounds right. Number 2. Okay, so does the crispy chicken sandwich come with lettuce and tomato, or just lettuce?
It's CLT. Usually you have to ask them whether to take the things off. Most of the time, most of the people try to take off the chicken, which is weird because at that point it's just carbs and under a half serving of vegetables. feels weird, but I've never really found the time to question it, mostly because of the other two items on the list, the How's It Been burger and the X marks the spot. They do not actually tell me what it is, I swear. They just put me in the bin and say, okay, fine, deliver it.
Okay, then I'll have the crispy chicken sandwich with no mayo, but add mustard. I'll have the kids burger, only pickles. Hey, is the 2 for $5 meal deal still a thing?
We actually have bag alerts about that thing, and I still don't believe that was actually a thing that happened. I guess so. Check it up with the cashier. I swear they probably know more about this than me.
Okay. All right. We'll skip that then. Okay, never mind then. I'll have the crispy chicken sandwich, hold the mayo. Actually, yeah, I want the mayo. Add mustard, both the mayo and the mustard. The kids burger, only pickle, and can you make it a triple patty?
That's $1 per extra patty. You sure you want that?
We've never had questions like this before. This is so dumb. This is so dumb. Oh, it's taking me back to college.
It's taking me back to 4 years ago.
Oh, it might help you cope with that thing? McFlurry.
Yeah. Oh God. Yes, I would love.
We don't talk about the baby. We don't talk about the baby.
Oh, I didn't connect to the flurry heart at all. You guys are so much smarter than
I
me.
did. Every time I hear that word.
Has someone written a story that's just called The McFlurry, and it's just like the cover art is just Flurry Heart, like as a teenager in a McDonald's uniform?
Okay, I don't know about the uniform thing, but there is a story called The McFlurry, and it was a Big Mac and Flurry Heart thing.
That is actually kind of funny, as long as it wasn't a baby Flurry Heart.
It's insane how the question I want to ask about this is not how did you know about this, but how fast did you? Because it just means that I have refused to check the inbox for 5.5 seconds, and that somehow already popped up in the meantime.
Okay.
Everything goes.
I've duplicated tab. I'm looking this up right now. McFlurry.
How do you spell it? Because I haven't found it.
I haven't found it. Just looking McFlurry.
Maybe I spelled it wrong.
And even searching MC Flurry didn't turn up with anything, and that's Flurry Heart's rap days.
Yeah, she's the master of ceremonies.
Well, for another time. We gotta get through these drive-through questions. We got a line backing up. All right, number 6. Oof, I hate to exceed my budget, but those fries look really good. Give me a large fry, and that'll be it. That's not even a question.
Well, it is still a request, and yes, we do have a large fry. Would you like it in a container, or should I wrap it up for you?
And the next question is, you know what? Fuck it. Screw budgets. Give me the Impossible Whopper, the large fry, and a chocolate Oreo shake. Take off the kids' burger and crispy chicken. How much will that be? Does math in the background.
$9.95 plus 2 bits of moon metal.
Oh, I only have
wherever you are.
Hey, we said that was impossible. I meant to impossible to purchase with only Earth currency. Come on, get with the times.
my
thing. I want to move where you're moving because I can't buy a burger for under $12 anymore.
That's ridiculous.
I'm only half joking.
Oh. Even McDonald's is $2 cheeseburger.
Gross. Nope. Won't eat it.
That's fair. You have standards.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Muggany says, I only have $5. Instead of the Impossible Whopper meal, can you give me what I ordered instead? See you at the next window. Also, number 10, how your day?
Very fine. And of course, for that last question, here's your value menu. We managed to have it get wrapped and rolled in for you. You can only get it if you actually ask for it twice. Don't ask me why about that either. We think that the boss is actually just a pile of nuts and bolts trying to make sure that every one of us suffers.
Ah, the Five Nights at Freddy's twist. Good to know.
I wish. I wish. I'm not saying this as some sort of metaphor or reference. We think it's a literal pile of nuts and bolts. Sometimes we actually hear a clitter and clanker upstairs. For some reason, they think it's not something to do with a ghost. Right now, me, like our children from down the lane.
And now the ghosts and what's behind your door comes back around too.
Again, we'll be able to see it, but I have no problems with doing that. Let's move on.
Sounds great. Enigma, would you like to ask empty plot fillers questions?
Empty plot filler. There we are. Number 1. Have you ever had sex while camping?
Okay, here's the thing. I would happily tell you all about the only time I've ever actually pitched a 10 in here, but I'm trying to make sure this remains a family show, so we're going to skip over that part. That being said, I have gone camping a fair bit, just never any place where we'd ever have to worry about staying overnight. Those things, burlap costs a lot of money, and most of the time we usually do stuff in the afternoon, just when you have enough time to have sunlight, but before it starts getting before everyone else starts trying to get leaving.
Number 2.
Also, it seems that I'm contextually obligated to point out it's fucking intense.
Number 2. Now down to the brass tacks of things. According to HACE code 741-99930, articles of brass shall be taxed at a rate of 10%. Now, given the current rate of inflation, isn't this merely a needless deviation of expectations?
We always seem to think that that's somewhat of a... We always seem to think that's somewhat of a tough issue to handle, but always got to have enough steel in your spine to be able to see through these tough decisions. Especially if you have a sliver of hope that you actually hope to go for the gold in any sort of area that you want to go for. Especially in terms of financial burden.
I'm sorry, but the correct answer is yes, but only on Tuesdays.
Correct for one part of metallurgy. Goodness gracious, it's like the whole profession's gone to pot.
Number 3. As this question seems to occur with nearly every author, Spike is generally not well liked, well received by the fandom. Is this because he is a poorly made character or a poorly written character?
Seems like a trick question, but if you're actually going to put a crossbow to my head and make me decide, a minute. Why am I entertaining? Wait a minute. Why am I entertaining this? I already said before, the fact that spoiled rich fics can actually get famous means there's no such thing as a poorly made character. Poorly written, I can always understand. You always have some way of screwing up perception of people, screwing up perception of anyone in kind, just so enough to it ends up becoming a flop. But if you can actually find a way towards making that writing in, you can redeem pretty much anyone. B-52 literally made an entire career, 250 stories long, one of my best friends in the world, made an entire career off a fix of Spike, just being able to be an absolute delight to see. I find it absolutely impossible to believe that this is because he was poorly made. Because I've seen the struggles of how we make characters that are poorly made. That's very hard.
So do you get Flurry Heart with the plastic spoon or without?
Get it with Oreo chunks! It's Philistine!
Number 4. Situation. You have been transported into a novel, all 320 pages of it. Only one problem. The pages are blank. You can't leave until every single page is used and used properly.
I'm sorry, you seem to have confused me with George R. R. Martin, but continue. I'm sure there was a question to this.
I guess the situation is that you were trapped in the book, and the only way to get out is to use up all the pages. And I see a solution to the if you were trapped in the book. I know a solution to get out.
You're going to suggest a Between the Lines marathon. We already tried this with my niece. All it did was make her tired, hungry, and also incredibly pissed with how fast ink stains.
I miss Between the Lions. I remember every time they brought out a meat pop, I really wanted to try one.
No, you really don't.
You remember the meat pops?
Oh, I do. And I've had frozen meat before. It's fucking gross.
And whenever they would eat that meat, it would just fly everywhere and never get in their mouths, like Cookie Monster.
Oh, I see.
Or like how you win a watermelon eating contest.
Oh.
I understand that. Oh, goodness, I think I understand that well.
So the answer was yes, right? Correct?
I suppose, yes. I could do it, but it's going to take a mountainous amount of effort.
I mean, I just turned it into a picture book and you're out in no time.
Oh, that depends on what the pictures are.
Okay, hold on. Did you just imply that making art is easier than writing?
You don't have to draw. You don't have to. It could be squiggles, is what I'm saying. I'm not. Stop twisting my words into something I didn't say.
No, I will twist them like you twist your nipples.
I told you that in confidence.
Nothing's private here.
Just reveal things confidently.
Oh wait, there was more to this. Question: Who do you want to write you through to the end of the story?
I meant a question about writing that I can't just say, throw up the leech signal and let's see what happens. My one weakness. How did you know? No, seriously. I already mentioned before the one writer who I'd actually trust to deliver both quantity and quality. And for a 320-page novel, it's going to have to be Winter Mist. Seriously, just an absolute house in terms of production, and especially in quality behind that production. Ask questions that you wouldn't even think of answering, and answers them in ways that literally could be chapters all their own, and probably get 1,000 likes on.
Winter Mist is exceptionally talented.
Bonus question. What's the plot to the story and what's your role in it?
Let me see. Okay, do you know the story Hellphone? Appa basically featuring Diamond Tiara. Seriously, you can look. Seriously, that's already one of the more surprising movies I've seen for the last year, and I think that it's going to be amazing to see just how well you can screw up a phone that literally grants you everything you want, even when you don't necessarily want it. Especially in a society where this could easily be an absolute mess, considering the amount of magic that would be marshaled both with it and against it.
What movie is this?
Hellphone, I believe it's called.
Hellphone?
I think it's Italian. Hellphone.
Huh.
Double hockey sticks.
Okay, alright.
Huh. I'm gonna look this up, because this sounds... Honestly, okay, it sounds a lot like... Oh, fuck. It was a Jim Carrey movie where he became God. What was that? Bruce Almighty.
Bruce Almighty.
It sounds a lot like Bruce Almighty.
I assure you it is played for a lot more than horror. Police Story Recap on YouTube actually has a series on it. Think of it as something like Wishmaster, but it's through a phone.
I'm trying to find Wishmaster. I cannot watch it because it's only available in England, and I do not have the money nor the inclination to buy the DVD.
Hey man, what happens with your toenails is your business. Oh, you said inclination, not ingrown. Anyways, I think it's a pretty good movie if you manage to get your eye. If you manage to get your foods on it, it's a very, very good movie.
Yeah, I know. I've heard one thing and another about it. I know I want to watch it. All right, I like Macaulay Culkin's acting when he was a kid, so you know.
Then
I honestly think his Ska Pizza project is actually pretty good.
I'll be honest. I have not seen anything other than Home Alone that he's done.
I'm just glad
one of those words, and I want to keep it that way.
I'm just glad that Macaulay Culkin turned his life around and he went on to marry London Tipton from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
Oh my God.
He did, actually.
I know he did. That's so fucking weird.
When did this happen?
Recently.
Last year, I think, yeah.
Take your word for it. Continue.
Oh, shit.
Number
It's
5.
actually...
Go ahead.
Never mind.
A real question. What's the biggest rewrite you have had to go back and correct due to the first run of your work not being what you wanted it to be?
Witness the brightest example of this, and I didn't even actually post it yet. Is that how Sticker Shock actually works? I'll go look it up later. Anyways, easily I have an answer for this. It was basically a contest on closing sofas that was about this picture. It was about this picture to story collab. It was all from this one artist, and mine was literally a statue of an alicorn, literally standing on a sword, handing over a giant statue that was in an overgrown valley. My first take on this was a story called Rocky Roads, and it turned out to be one of the most shittiest shows that I had ever produced in my entire life. Thankfully, almost 1.5 years later, they actually had a contest that allowed us to go back and revisit one of the stories that we had written before, whether to make a remake of it or to write a sequel to it. And I ended up turning it into a different tale altogether, one called That's Amore, that literally took place right before Tarek decided to go all fire and brimstone on Twilight's house, where she and Celestia saw this one of the manga exclusive, statue of the manga exclusive Alicorn Princess Amore, and Celestia decided to go into wax poetic about how much Amore basically meant in her past lives through a series of flashbacks, both to her as a pony and as a mentor especially. In terms, and not only that, but that she and Amore, I'm talking about, in her past, ended up being one of the ponies that managed to beat Tarek before during his time in Generation 2, under an assumed identity. I know I'm slowly starting to get a bit off track here, but the point is, Rocky Roads into That's Amore is one of the most crystallizing moments of my life, one where I did finally get into my state of mind where I realized that there could be a second act to anything, that there was a second chance to make a first impression on anyone, and the second I realized that that sort of thing could be done, and done profoundly by me, not only showed how much I grew as a person, but how much I can make others grow if I just kept applying myself. And it's still one of the greatest stories I've actually written. I'm actually shocked that I never got a chance to post it. Maybe I'll make it my case in November. I've got a lot of stuff I need to do for this month, as it is.
There you go. I mean, the second chance for anything, right?
And every pony.
All right. Then up next is Rab's questions.
Priest, we have our mid-roll ads.
That's correct. So we'll blast through this as quickly as possible. For those who are listening, please consider checking out the Barcast.net. There we've got links to places like our Patreon, where on our Patreon of this money-losing scheme, 100% of the money that we accumulate, whether it's through bits on Twitch or through Patreon, goes 100% to Red Wings Horse Sanctuary in mid-California. there we have a horse that we sponsor by the name of Little Bit, and the money that you guys contribute goes towards doing things like getting his teeth cleaned, getting his hooves trimmed, and things like that. It's an amazing honor that last year we were able to donate over $600 to Red Wings over the course of the year. And it means the world to us if you consider donating so that way we can contribute even more towards such a wonderful cause, such as real life horses. Yes, they do actually exist. Horses aren't fake.
You're telling me there's a place I can go out and pet an actual for realsy horse?
Absolutely right, you can. And even if you don't want to filter that money through the lens of us, you can donate yourself, and please consider doing so. Now then, Rav, you're up next. Go for it.
Read, Alex, post the links. Read. All right. Question 1. What's a question you wish people would ask you?
What are the inspirations for the fics that you make? Literally every one of these stories I have has a story behind it. And even if I never really get any sort of featuring, waxing poetic about the sources that really drive me, even when it's not, especially when it's not obvious, is one of the joys in my life that I always wish I had a chance to ask, or wish I had a chance to answer. Because that's the time when I really get to get into the meat and potatoes of the fic without it feeling like it's something as an add-on. Like it's something that I only put on because it wasn't doing well enough. And when somebody actually asks that question of me, it really inspires me to try and hunt out more sources, to try and do more things, to try and be the experimenter that I've always known I could be with the help of this franchise.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I wish I had more inspirations for some of my own stories. Question 2. If you were the protag of Displaced Fic, what would it be about, and who would you be unlucky enough to be?
Okay, so here's the thing about that question. The entire point of Viscera, besides whatever clop I can get her hands on, is that she's basically the master of being in literally displaced grimdark situations and somehow managing to finesse her way out of them. So asking about if I was the protag of one feels like somebody has reacquired the concept of ESP, and I've never really liked that much as an ability, not just because a giant yellow duck on Pokemon turned me off to the concept.
No. You would not. No. See, here's the thing. You would not get to be your OC. It's you take any situation that you can think of, be put in that situation, but you get turned into someone you're not. Who would the worst person you could turn into be?
Oh, goodness.
That character, strictly characters.
Easily be Blue Blood. Hell, even Zephyr manages to. See how even Zephyr manages to get so much lucky from time to time. I can't think of a single person. I can't think of a single person. I think of a single person besides one who's ever managed to put Blue Blood in a positive one.
I know a few actually. Let's see. Huh?
I understand. Oh, I understand. But if you're talking about those who are most collegially unlucky, considering the fics I've read about whether they're actually working out well and when they're not, Blue Blood has pretty much the biggest ratio in that regard.
No, actually, most of the versions of Blue Blood I've seen in fics have been generally positive. Surprisingly so.
I think there's this pretty even mix. Like, there's a lot that take Blue Blood as, like, let's take a character that people generally conceive as bad and then try to redeem him. Like, I think there's a lot of Blue Blood redemption stories where I think there's a significantly smaller number Zephyr Breeze redemption kind of arc stories. A, because he was just introduced so late into the kind of the story at large, but also B, just the way that he is perceived makes him so generally unlikable.
I mean, not even just perceived, he's an outright fucking dickhead.
One of the few ones that doesn't have a way past that at the end.
Yeah.
Which is what usually lends me towards thinking that being in his shoes would be unlucky.
Alright. I guess we'll jump to number 3 then, because I really don't have a segue for that.
It's not easy, is it?
Most times it is.
Sorry.
Just not this time.
Please.
No, you're good. If your significant other could be any size at all, such as a Lady Demi Dami Mommy or a Deathclaw Kaiju, what would your dynamic look like?
Mike Cooper, Carmelita Fox.
Alright.
Will not elaborate further, actually, as a matter of fact.
Have you ever released a foot fetish video, and where can your fans find it?
First of all, they're going to have to find my feet, and given that I've been having a bit of trouble with that since the last decade, that's going to be a bit of a challenge.
Hey, there's a kink for everybody, man.
Oh, no, not because I'm fat. Mainly because I have so much drip that I've never seen my foot outside of a shoe since about age 21.
So much drip. I love it.
Oh, shit.
So wait, why did they call
it
drip? The last thing you want to hit stuff like this is water. Why in the world would you literally make it your tertiary weakness? That's like saying that's like calling... Oh, no, I don't get it. It's just like... I know what it is. It's like calling a hat ponytails. Because literally none has ever made one look better.
Truth.
Question number 5. Do you read or write snuffles, i.e. snuff for cute ponies?
Yes, I have read it. To the point, I have made an incredibly disturbing part of my life. Read, it's not disturbing at all, just the amount of curiosity I have about reading stuff like this. Ironically enough, my first fic was literally a sequel, in fact, to stuff like this, which is always something that's morbidly caught my eye as something that I've always added this very specific, very singular type of story tack to. Namely, something that just takes the piss out of it entirely while still making sure that every character in it is taken as the regarding threat it is. Or as I like to call it, injusticing the join up. In terms of actually writing one, I have done so precisely Nuns.
Nuns.
I've
heard that word a bit.
I don't even know that word. But
oh shit!
In terms of, I write sequels to them, but not of them. Let's just say. And in terms of doing so, I've always found that being able to compare, say, a cute pony against one that pretty much has the literal Terminatrix mentality, and somehow managing to make it so that they both survive at the end, is a challenge all its own in terms of making sure it's actually compelling. It's literally also an area which you almost have no purpose for whatsoever, since you're likely going to just be arranging two universes, which of course is one of the many things that drive me towards doing it endlessly. And by that endlessly, I mean precisely once with the hopes of doing more. Continue.
Blood porn, got it. Question 6. Who's your favorite MILF?
Talking about in or out of the series?
Either or.
But never mind, Stellar Flare. I have no
Good choice.
idea what. I had to go. Yeah, I had to go for the safe option on that one. If I
It was
start,
that. It
It was that smile. It was that that
it was
freaking
that yes, correct.
that smug ass smile of hers.
It's like, oh no, she's exuding mommy energy.
No, she's exuding Dommy mommy energy. Let's be fair. Oh shit!
I pretty much had to go for.
And she comes with built-in socks, too.
Oh, God. Fucking Christ. Alright. Favorite princess from MLP? I think we know where this is going, but...
I'm actually going to be surprised by this. Celestia.
Oh, really?
I already said before that's I know. I've said a lot of times before that Cadence is my favorite one to write. But in terms of my favorite one overall, I literally dedicated my most popular fic of all time, freeze frame bonus, towards a step-by-step elaboration of just why Celestia was my favorite princess in general. Namely, just how much she actually mainly just how much she's actually able to show in the few instances where she can actually both shows her to be a capable leader while also making the rarity of it something that's keeps the mystery of when it comes out fresh. And frankly, the entire part about Daybreaker really went a long way towards establishing that every pony in that story usually has, that powerful at least, have their own inner demons in order to handle, and some are just better at repressing it than others, and that she managed to do it for both hers and Luna's, well, it definitely lends a lot of points towards her in my favor. She's basically seen as the leader of it, but she acts more like it's basically acts more like its elder, its prophet, something not entirely an ethereal being, but someone who's known the most because she's been around the longest and can marshal it enough to know where to send the right people in the right places, especially considering her actions is what starts the whole story in the first place.
I mean, that's
felt that her greatest strength was in how underlying she is, and that's what kind of made her my favorite to have, and if not the best to write, because I always work best when the ponies I have leeway to work in, and so much of Celestia is so baked in, it feels like it's going through the numbers, but it's still nice to write about her.
I mean, that's fair. I have a number of Celestia, well, a very few number of Celestia stories that I will go back and read over and over and over. Moving on, number 8, favorite object pony. So, like, pita pone, soda pone, pizza pone, pita pone, pita bread. I mean, snack pone, thing pone, and so on.
Air pone.
Huh?
There's a pony in here that's literally just half mechanical airplane, and I am for it immediately.
Oh, yes, the clones. The clones, yes, they're freaking awesome. I love them. I've got a whole folder full of them. Alrighty.
Please tell me you mean physical, and thus there's an upper limit.
Say what now?
Please tell me you mean physical folder, and thus that there's an upper limit to how much stuff's in it.
There's a lot of pony stuff, actually.
Yeah, there is, and I have an 8 terabyte hard drive, so you'd have a hard time filling it up anyways.
Okay,
shit, alright.
You can never be too careful.
No, there is no upper limit. Believe me, I'll figure out how to compress that shit at some point. Number 9. Huh?
I'd be disappointed if you did. Anyways, continue.
I mean, that's where we get Zip from. Anyways, number 9. Since bats are the superior pony, how many bats does it take to screw a princess?
Not at liberty to say, especially considering the light bulb issue tends to make them scatter for crazy amounts of time.
I think you're... Well, no, that wouldn't be moth ponies. That's the exact opposite.
So the whole issue about that basically makes it how many licks does it take to get to the bottom of a Tootsie Pop of questions. You're always going to have a variable number in that regard.
Okay. Question 10. Why is Spike the worst and everyone that likes him wrong?
I'm going to guess it's probably the bobblehead physics. When you're already basically the proportions of your toy, it starts making everything you do look a bit more uncanny. Fortunately, I don't know exactly how to...
Well, that's a pretty damn good answer, actually. Oh, shit.
I realize, of course, that I'm just guessing at this right, and I don't actually hate Spike.
Oh, I know, but I still love that answer.
It's a good answer.
It really is. Oh, fuck. Alright. Number 11. If you could start an interstellar war between any two factions from any universe or universes, who would they be and why?
The stellar is where this question starts getting into fuzzy areas, because now it starts implying that the ones in question have to be spacefaring. And if you have to actually hold my head towards it, Babylon 5 and Red.
Pardon me.
Babylon 5 and Red Dwarf. Only to see just how crazy stuff gets, and only to see how much crazy stuff gets before everything's over. Again, you'll notice my habit for liking crackship fairings to be a rather common plank of mine.
I'll have to look into those. All right. Number 12. Get ready. Pucker your anuses.
Oh my god.
If dick cheese could be blocked and sliced for sandwiches, how much vaginal marinara would we need to spread on our avocado toast to make a fuck trophy? A flushed consolation prize is acceptable too.
Well, see, the first error in that thing is assuming that it's avocado toast. Come on now, it's got to be devil's food cake. That's literally the first thing about making fuck trophies. Number 2, you would need literally 2 stacks of this to even get started on the base. So saying everything in the singular is already giving the game away that they don't know what they're talking about. And third, we already tried this once before. It keeps melting in the sun and in the height of their musk. We can't have this working around anymore unless you find a way to actually make everything stand up the whole time through.
That is the most well-thought answer to that question that I have ever heard.
So TLDR I'm getting is the flushed consolation prize is the answer. Got it.
Flushed consolation prize is what I'm trying to avoid. Why do you think I'm so complex about this?
Nobody loves the avocado toast, let's be fair. Anyways, number 13, have you ever put your OC in a position you yourself would never be in of your own volition? I think the answer is yes.
Are you kidding me? Why would I ever do that? Every time I think about my daily schedule, I always like to make sure it's something that I can always see Viscera going through. 10 o'clock, my money. 2 o'clock, breakfast. 3 o'clock, see if you can get 3 ponies rescued from an absolutely rapist version of Twilight Sparkle without getting anyone alerted. Number 4, jazzercise. Come on now, everybody's schedule is like that, isn't it?
Close enough. But you missed the end part where it's squeezing stuff in between the self-loathing and staring into the void for madness. Anyways, so a couple of lighthearted jokes to finish out this, huh?
Self-loathing. Now that's something Viscera has that I pretty much cannot have. And let's be real, when you've basically when half of your service has been in the sorry about that. I'm sorry, but self-loathing is one of the qualities Viscera has that I do not share. And when you've basically spent half of your employ since leaving your own niche cheerily in the employ of a pony who's literally 60% hair grease and 30% enamel, like Dr. Cabellerin, you pretty much start learning to start taking life joys for when you can pretty soon. So I don't even blame Viscera for having that sort of emotion about her. But no, I don't think I'd ever put him in a position that I would be in my own volition. That's the point.
All right. So a couple of lighthearted jokes to balance out the absolute fuckery that I put up there. What's the difference between a golf ball and a G-spot?
I think I know this one. Hold on.
Don't go looking for the answer.
That's one of them, but I think the better one is that a guy's always happy to talk about the number of strokes it takes to reach a golf ball.
It's really close to what the answer was for that.
That's actually pretty good.
All right. Last one. What's 6 inches long, 2 inches wide, and everyone is excited to get it?
Oh, don't worry. I know this one. Sapphire.
$100 bill.
And now you've displayed the difference between yourself and rarity. Continue.
My God. All right, that concludes Rab's questions, so I'm going to move on to Burgess. Hello! Number 1, do you listen to music when creating, and if so, what kind?
Pretty much anything I can get my hands on, but yes, I do listen to music a lot. Seven Nation Army is usually my favorite thing, but I always try to make sure I span towards stuff that has a lot of instrumentals working through it.
Gotcha.
Mostly something around the realm of mostly something around the left of techno pop usually helps to calm the nerves, which I usually have when I'm trying to make sure I'm writing something before a deadline.
Mm-hmm. Up next, would you sit down to dinner if you could sit down to if you could sit down to dinner with any character, who would you choose?
Hold on a second. Probably Lord Tirak. It would be amazing to see how Six Legs actually work in terms of that mech actually sitting down. If you're talking about who I would rather eat dinner with, though, I would have to say Big Mac. I've never been much of a talker when I'm eating.
All right.
Gotcha.
And who would you eat for dinner? Are you thinking about it, or were you just too appalled?
No, I'm trying to shorten the list down.
Oh, okay. So this is a list of people you would eat. Okay.
No.
I mean, horse meat's a specialty in Japan.
Wait. You mean as in cannibalize? Because I thought
Yeah, like if this is a Hannibal Lecter situation,
eat out, my man.
if this is a Hannibal Lecter situation, which pony would you eat?
You're assuming that human on pony is cannibalism.
One, no. Two, also no. Weirdly enough, that's
Like,
something else a question, but
If you only had one and you wanted to try all the flavors, just eat an alicorn.
so how would flavor differentiate on that basis? Also, I said no because I can't cannibalize ponies unless I'm paid enough. Not here.
Just think of that chicken wing, man.
Oh, pickled hooves. Pickled pony hooves.
What happened with your taste?
All
Pinkie
right.
Pie would be all candied.
Let's instead of eating horses, let's move on to the next question. Would you pet Sweetie Bot?
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much how you. That's pretty much how you activate half the protocols on it. I don't know why they're all assigned towards that same spot on her head, but yeah, you're gonna have to go towards it if you want to try.
I'd rather the head than anywhere else, to be fair.
Come on now. We're all grown men here. Where could they possibly place it that would ever be a problem to any of us? And also, wow, then my mind drift off real quick.
Yep.
I want to stroke her guns.
If you were dropped into Equestria, would you rather change to fit in, as in change to one of their species, or remain as you are?
Yes, I just love bumping myself into every other house. I just love bumping myself into every other roof town and house just because I always like to have two arms good. But yeah, I'm going to have to say I probably changed to fit in. Do as the Romans do, or whatever the equivalent of them are. Really enough, it keeps seeming to change. Half of it keeps saying it's Cloudsdale, but then there's this whole thing about the pillars and Flash Sentry and Pegasign. We'll just go with Pegasign and move on from there.
All right.
The Pegasigns do.
Up next, if you could introduce one tech and make it widely adopted, what would it be? I.e., cars, airships, cybernetics into Equestria.
cartoons. Not necessarily because of not just necessarily because of what they would carry, but of what the names they would probably give them to be. Like, could you imagine seeing something called Bertha One literally being walked around like it's a pet by Lyra Heartstrings?
Oof.
They'll actually do it too.
They would. All right. If you could if you could invert a character, as what was kind of done with the Mean Six, who would be your choice? So basically, invert their
Green
personality.
Chrysalis.
Queen Chrysalis. Ooh.
Yeah, pretty much. Not because, and again, this is a multi-layered question. It is not necessarily because I need to see her as a good It's not because I need to see her as a good person. It's because I want to see a scenario erupt where she is not the most perverted thing in the room, and how many minds it blows or turns to Swiss cheese that it happens in result.
That's fair. Number 7. If you could change one aspect of the Ponyverse, what would it be? Gender ratio, tech level, hostile neighbors?
I mean, besides the one new generation already did.
Yeah.
Note that this is not an insult, by the way. The fact that a movie is willing to be that daring with its own source material is, frankly, a spot in one of the spawn of darkness in terms of how creativity can actually be marshaled. But that also means that my answer to that question becomes a bit shorter to work with. So I'm going to have to go with knowledge of. I'm going to have to go with knowledge of parallel dimensions. Being able to actually have understanding of all those, being able to have the understanding of all those around you, as the main 6 do, would probably start giving more character towards many of the already colorful cast of those that are already around, especially in terms of, how they manage to cope.
Right. No, I think that's really well said. I mean, I think a parallel universe MLP like crossover could be really, really cool, actually. All right, then the final set of questions are from Synchree. Number 1, what is your favorite video from DWK?
Yes, the very character I just mentioned here. There and Back Again is pretty much the crystallization of everything, and not just because of the start of it. And not just because of the start of both the second part of the episode, which pretty much had every joke of it land, especially the Steven. No surprise he came back here disguised as a female. He never really had any balls. Seriously, best line from Chrysalis, and it's not even in the main show. Come on. But, yeah, the season 6 finale basically crystallized everything that Starlight Glimmer, as a pony, was literally doubting about herself, especially in regards to her thinking that maybe the shift that she'd undergone was not something that she undertook over her own volition, rather than Twilight just jigsaw puzzling her back together again after her attempt to literally rewrite history in her favor. I always felt that more than anything else showed, well, just how deep a person could get in terms of this while still not taking themselves too seriously. And in terms of the questions it basically brings up about each of the characters inside of it, Trixie, Thorax, and Discord included, you could easily make it a case for being not only the best parts of the show being shown, but the best parts of DWK himself.
Well said. Well said. Number 2, which not safe for work stories you did that you consider to be the hottest?
The like-dislike ratio doesn't lie. Freeze frame bonus and its 2 sequels. Being able to actually make the sense of Celestia getting into contact with a regular human was a challenge and a half, not in the least because it was also done in second-person perspective, which basically gave a new dimension towards everything they did, that I never really ventured into before, and that I was really happy with the result. Clearly, I wasn't the only one. It was one of the few ones that started staying up on the Simbox as long as a Hanukkah moral. The whole part of that exercise, however, was part of the unfinished business that I said I was part of, because I didn't complete the third part of it until a year after, and it was so well received, it literally got the prequel that it was based on back up into featured. And rarest, I think, a discovery like that is the fact that I could make people remember something done so distantly before, is why I think that this franchise, this wonderful dream that we're all part of, is not going to diminish as hard as people think. There's always a hankering for new stuff, and more importantly, new stuff based out around the old stuff, based stuff that even evolves on it. And frankly, there's nothing more alluring than knowing that such bond can actually be formed. Wish cheesy as that statement might be.
No, I think that's fair. Number 3. Which not safe for work stories you haven't done on film fiction that you consider to be the hottest?
I think I could actually, 1 second. Thing. One of them was actually my favorite, and I cannot remember the name directly. Alright. We can include comics in this regard, right?
Oh, of course.
Easy. Slipon's Nightmare series. Very few people are going to get the reference. It's been done almost several years ago, but and many people who do get the reference aren't going to necessarily think that it aged that terribly well, not in the least because it literally was the thing that launched 1,000 ships of Twilight being an evil, domineering Fuda. But there was something about seeing this story literally progress of her literally running a train on all her friends and the royal sisters that I always felt was massively inspired. You managed to literally create an entire character out of whole cloth around her and still managed to make it something that you wanted to learn more of. Not to mention the fact that her tongue, literally a foot long, almost doubles as a secondary character all its own. In fact, it's one of the stories that I've liked so much that this is actually going to be a bit of a short reveal, but I take pride in stuff like this. I'm pretty much too well enamored in myself to ever be embarrassed. I've actually been trying to develop a sequel towards it in my spare time, one I'm hoping I can at least start the first parts of before the year's over.
Ooh.
Being able to put a bow on a story like that is one of my greatest honors as a writer, and that it's such a thing that's already running on such ground really helps to enhance myself in terms of how to actually write action and basically how to make sure that stuff like this, in terms of a conflict between her, a demon Twilight, I mean, and the new protagonist of the story, literally a earlier formed but somehow inverted Legion of Doom, Chrysalis, Cozy Glow, Tyrek, really helps to establish just how how much fun you could have literally writing alternate history. Something that I've always thought of as a point of pride, and I almost want to talk about Typewriter's story of Lust Haze, because it was the closest thing you could ever get towards an approximation of just how the feel of Nightmares was, without even being related to it or even knowing about it. And yes, I've actually consulted his counsel on my story as well, but it's stuff like that that really shows just how many different alleys you can go towards writing, even in the raunchiest of fields. And yet everything still comes together in the end. In fact, it brings you together closer to artists and writers that you never thought you could. And you'll become all the richer for it. It's something rather invigorating, and it's one of the hottest stories I've ever read. And most importantly, it's one of the stories I'm actually finding myself almost intimidated and trying to make a follow back towards. But it's a challenge that I accept with all the gusto that, you know, only the Emperor of the Philly Armed and Operational Battle Station can be.
Yeah. I believe in you. I bet you can do it.
See now that's sweet.
You're sweet. Number 4. Since you said Tempest Shadow is best pony, have you checked out any of the IDW comics she's in? Like the movie prequel comics, Tempest Tale, Nightmare Nights, and Season 10?
The prequels and Tempest Tale, yes, I have actually seen a bit of it, but not as much as I've wanted to, and I'm going to get around to the rest of it later on, you believe me on that. I've always felt, though, that some of the times the greatest story you can put together is the one you do yourself, the one that shows the indomitable spirit that she retains despite what side she's on, and just how well the character can fit these situations, even ones that you would think she normally couldn't, including that one on the Snowy Step. That one I actually took for a directive of another story of my own, one that showed her in an early encounter with Yona that was actually rather heartwarming. Yes, I have. I don't want to drag on too long about this answer, I assure you, especially considering the shape is starting to get to me myself, but yes.
Well, that's absolutely fair.
I am familiar with Tempest manga work. It's always nice to actually crunch on top of a new world from the one you've had before and see just how it differs. And really, I hope I can do it justice, just as I've done so many other characters in the course of my writing justice.
Well, that's well said. And speaking of well said, that's it. That's all the questions that we've got for today. So with that all said and done, Viz, what sort of things can we be excited to see from you, in the submission box here soon?
Well, I normally don't go into detail about the week-by-week ones. That one's as much a surprise to me as it's supposed to be the other ones. Hold on. Finally, okay, you know what? I think I can do one. Okay, there we go. Finally got these ropes free. Oh God. Come on, you don't have to laugh now. Look, okay, alright, sorry, let me get into an explanation of just what's happened recently. You don't have cameras here, so I understand why this would be a bit confusing. See, my own pony Vis-A-Viscera, she kind of tied me up about 3 hours ago and left me here. With this note.
Gosh.
Actually, she didn't rob anything, but I'm not entirely sure, and I'm not sure I want to go double check. Yeah, I'm pretty certain I shouldn't actually have this on me. Having this much insight into the mind of pony is pretty much already something I do enough in the waking hours. Apparently, it starts up with, "No, I didn't tie up Visa for that, ya bleeding pervs." And suddenly I feel 20% more emasculated. That's wonderful to know. Yeah, apparently this note is a call for a parlay, I think. Okay, for those who don't know, parlay is a duel or something. Look, I said those I don't know, me included. Come on now.
Right.
Okay, so it's apparently for a... Not gonna lie, this name literally sounds like it came out from One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Next extras. Seriously, Subtlety's gone out to town, he's literally gone out to lunch, choked on an arsenic sandwich, and got buried outside of a gothic manor here. Seriously, and here to assist Nurse Ratchet is her trusty assistant, Tala Tearjerker. Swear to God, that's who Viscera is calling out. I don't even know who she is, and why even uttering her name is giving me goosebumps. Not the book, those are terrible. But yeah, the note seems to be really full of these zingers. Basically asks what's Tala, like it's Castlevania, that line. Miserable pile of, okay, it's weird now. Secrets, sperm crits will go with sperm crits. That's all you want. She's literally saying this in the note, word for word. I don't know why in the world you're spending this much time for this. I literally have an entire physical money above. You're spending it on trying to understand how words work. Anyways, Viscera is apparently listing time and place. Not going to describe it later because, weird and stuff. And it cops off by saying that the only scary thing about Tearjerker is the piece of heavy machinery one needs to operate to see her at her best. And no, we're not talking about the meat grinder. We're talking about the computers of White Kitten's fan base. No, seriously, she's going to need to start explaining these things soon. Look, I'm not condoning this. Believe me. First fic on fanfic was a sequel to a Headless Rainbow fic. Reading about gore and stuff like that is not even close to a deal breaker to me. It seems like for a call for collaboration with this Tala, this White Kitten, or a fight? I'm not sure. Either way, look, I don't know what this letter's here for, why I had to be tied up in order to deliver it, but I have total faith in Viz's ability to survive this Donnybrook. Look, I don't often speak about my pony Sona often, I really don't, but I take pride in her, in pretty much every fashion I can. She's Equestria's premier plunderer, she's the Lady of Loot, she's the world's largest love mistress. Okay, you know what, never mind, I'm not trying to get you copyrighted as well, scared. She doesn't even wrap up her own hooves without a plan, is what I'm saying, guys. I'm pretty sure this dare she's made to this Tala will end in a thrilling way for her, and she'll be safe. One of two ways either, really. Either she starts showing the side of her that put her on the outs with her niece Cheerily, and her and her sister Cherry Blossom, or, well, she just pulls a JoJo's Part 2, nicks something valuable from Tala, and makes a run for it. It can go either way, though. For some reason, I've heard off the grapevine that's not usually how Whitekin stories end, but hey, pictures are pictures, and anything that gets better in the spotlight, it pretty much works. And that is but one of the many ideas I've had going through my head. You see where I'm getting at here?
Yeah, I think we can figure that out.
Yeah, seriously, just around town with Tearjerker. Could you imagine how an absolutely elusive thief pony like hers works against her? Especially considering the sheer amount of plot armor they both got surrounding them like a T-34 battle tank.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
By the way, also, what in the world is a White Kitten? I swear I've heard that name before. So, heaven, please don't tell me it's that White Kitten. It was that White Kitten. One I've heard on Doper Brewer.
I would have to do some research. I can't say that I...
The Headless Rainbow's Darth Vader, that White Kitten, that's the person Viscera wants to do collaborations with? Oh, no, I didn't answer.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting for sure. With that said, we do need to wind up on time. So, if someone takes a listen to this cast and then decides later, you know what, that Viz guy is pretty cool. How can I get in touch with them? What's the best way to reach out to you if someone wants to, interview their favorite author?
Well, my page on FilmFiction is always open, and I do hold a wonderful profile on Discord under the same name. Vis-A-Viscera 9494. And frankly, I'm always happy to hear anything you have to say on those two fronts. I know it's something I try to keep low-key, but I always do admire knowing that I've managed to inspire somebody else to continue on their own path the same way they did mine. It's going to be rocky, it's going to be a bit bumpy, it might even be a bit tainted with blood, but that it's yours and that you've paved it is always going to be the thing that rises my spirits, and I hope helps make your load a little lighter.
Oh, awesome. Well, in that case, that's all the time that we have for today. Viz, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come visit us.
What a joy, too.
Next week's going to be an interesting week. I think it's going to be either a game night or some sort of movie week because Milk and I are both going to be out, but we'll still have probably Rav, Enigma, Pencil, and Flam, so it should be a lot of fun.
I'll be sure to give it a listen at least. Now, excuse me, I have to go spray for cats.
Yes, it is cat spraying time.
Yeah, I have a feeling a White Kitten's going to be making its way around my parts way on sticks soon.
Your bartenders for this evening have been Enigmatic Otaku.
So, do I get drunk or?
I almost said Flam. He's not here. Ravage. Ravage is kill. And our amazing guest, Vis-A-Viscera.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd join in that drink with you, but let's be real. I'm going to need to be sober for as long as I can be right now.
I think that's fair. My name's Flutter Priest. Have a great weekend, y'all. Bye-bye.
Take it back now, y'all.
Dun, 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 dun.
Free hops!
Turn it up.